Good afternoon. I'm going to show you how to do the digital portrait project. First thing you're going to do is go to Google Images and find a picture, a close-up picture of a person. Yes, it has to be a person, not a cartoon, not a drawing, but a person. I'm going to choose Rihanna. To save the picture of Rihanna, you can click and hold and download the image. You can screenshot it, however you want to do it. I clicked and hold and it downloaded to my phone. I'm going to open up Ibis Paint. It's an app that I downloaded to my phone. And I'm going to click on the plus sign, which is in the lower left. It's a little bit cut off here. The plus sign will make a new project. And then you choose the size. It really doesn't matter what size you use. I always use the SD size, the first one. It's a pretty good size. And there's my canvas, and I can use my fingers to pinch it in and out to make it bigger, smaller, zoom in, zoom out. And what I want you to look at is on the bottom, there's these layers panels. And if you click on it, you can see the layers. Right now, I only have one layer. So I need to get my picture of Rihanna into that layer. So I'm going to hit the camera icon. And it's going to go to my photos, the photos on my in my camera. And I select the Rihanna photo, and it's going to drop into my canvas. Hit the green check mark. That means you give permission to put the photo in. So now you can see Rihanna is in my canvas. After you hit the green check mark, it's going to ask you about extract lines. You'll see in a minute, the message is going to pop up. There it is. The extract line drawing filter, blah, blah. Hit cancel. Just hit cancel. You don't want that. If you hit OK by accident, just go back and start over and hit cancel. Okay, so now you can look at my layers. So I'm going to take the layer with Rihanna and I'm going to just move her to the bottom. You can see that you can just click and hold and she will be dragged to the bottom layer. This is very important because you want to now select the layer above the photo. So you notice that my layer 2 is selected. That's the one you want to be on. And the photo is on layer 1, which is underneath me. So make sure you're on the second layer above the photo. Make sure it's selected just like you see how I did, and then you're ready to start. So I'm going to first zoom in on Rihanna's face. This is going to make everything much easier. To zoom in, you can just use your two fingers and just kind of pinch it until you're really up close. I'm going to, once I get really up close, I'm going to make sure that I'm on the color black. That's really important because that's how we're going to trace it, with the color black. And then I'm going to select the paintbrush. And I'm going to use a really fine paintbrush. So I'm going to use, I think, the pen. And then you can see the size. I'm going to make it super small, like 1.0. So now that my paintbrush is on 1.0, my opacity is at 100%, I am going to, and I'm zoomed in, I'm going to start tracing the outline of Rihanna's face. So I'm going to start with the lips, and then I'll do the nose, the eyes. I'm going to speed it up so you can watch me trace it in high speed. Okay, now something I want to point out about the nose. It's very common for people to just draw a nose, what I call the Bert nose from Ernie and Bert from Sesame Street. Nobody's nose looks like that. So when you're tracing the nose, what you want to do is just zoom in as best you can and then trace the nostrils and leave it at that. You'll get the rest of the nose later. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to start tracing the eyes, the eyelashes, the lines in the eyelids. Now, I'm having some trouble seeing what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the layers panel, which are those white squares in the lower right. I'm going to click on the layer that has Rihanna, and you see it's at 100%. I'm going to turn the opacity down by just dragging that dial underneath where it says opacity. I'm going to just lower it a little bit, maybe to like 75%, 77. And what that's going to do is it's going to make her a little bit lighter. It's going to fade her so that when I'm tracing over her on the second layer, I can see what I'm doing. So you'll see it's going to be a little bit more clear. So I'm going to lower it down. There I go. It's 77%. Go back. I'm going to make sure I select on layer 2. It's really important you're on layer 2, not on the picture layer. And now when I trace, I could see what I'm doing a little bit better because the photo is at 77%. Because the photo's opacity was turned down, I can see what I'm drawing. Now, if you want to, after you trace a little bit, you can go back to the layers, shut off the photo layer to see your progress, to see how you're doing. And I'll show you how that looks in a minute. Okay, so in my layers, I'm going to just shut off the eyeball next to Rihanna, and that just turns off a switch so I can see how my layer looks. And now I'm going to zoom out. Now you can see her face kind of shining through. So that's what you do if you want to look at it. I'm going to go back to the layers, and I'm going to turn the eyeball back on because I need that photo. I'm going to go back to layer 2, and I'm going to continue tracing it. When I'm all done tracing, then you're ready to color in. I'm going to speed this up so you can see it, and then I'll show you how to color it in. So now that I have the photo layer shut off with the eyeball, you can see my progress. There's my drawing. Now I'm ready to color it in. So here's how you do it. You're going to turn the photo back on, hit the eyeball, and make sure you're on a new layer. You're going to go to the plus sign and make a new layer. This is going to be your coloring layer. So now you should have 3 layers. The photo layer, the layer where you traced, and now the color layer. The color layer, we're going to move it underneath the sketch layer. So it's sandwiched in between the layer where you sketched and the layer where the photo is. And that's where you want to be. And that's where I am. So now I turn everything on. I'm on the middle layer. And I'm going to click and hold. And the paintbrush is automatically going to pick up the color of Rihanna's skin. And you notice if you look at her face, her skin is different colors in different areas because of the lighting, because of her makeup, etc. When you shut off the eyeball of the photo, you can see your drawing coming through. So I'm going to turn that back on, and I'm going to lower the opacity just a little bit more. Make sure you're on that middle layer, and there I am. I'm on the middle layer. And the reason you want to be on a middle layer is because you don't want to draw over what you sketched in black. So there I am, and I'm going to just click and hold and paint, click and hold and paint, and I'm going to keep doing that until her face is totally colored in. And then I'm going to shut off the photo layer, and it's going to be saved. And then I'll show you how to save. Okay, so I'm not finished. I have a long way to go, but you can see what I've done. When you're totally finished, it'll look amazing, I promise. When you're totally finished, you're going to hit the arrow in the lower right corner, and you're going to click Save as PNG or JPEG, either one, and then you're going to email it to me. This is a different project, but I want you to see how to save it. Lower right corner, click on that arrow that's pointing left. And when you do that, you're going to have the option to save it as a PNG. So you do that, and I saved it, or you can screenshot it. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to save this as a PNG. And then once I do that, I click on the share button, which is that like the sideways V, and I'm going to share it to Gmail, and I'm going to send it to mkolbak@nssd112.org. Email me if you have any questions.